Hello and welcome back. I'm going to be talking about triggers in this video and what triggers are, how it reacts within our body, and how we can navigate when we are becoming triggered. Now, our triggers can come from a very deep unconscious place. Usually that is the case. And I'm hoping with this video to shine some light on what might be happening beneath the surface for you to understand some of the aspects within the subconscious that might be coming activated, and also knowing that triggers are not a bad thing. I saw a post recently on Instagram talking about we must be accountable for our triggers, for our reactions. And I do feel there is truth to that. However, I went into the comment section and I found a lot of people disagreeing with that comment. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have different perspectives. But through this work, through this deep unconscious work, I have to say that I do believe that there is an aspect that we are responsible for, meaning that when we are triggered, it is important to understand what is coming up as the trigger, not pointing our finger at the other person. And this is what I caught from a lot of the comments on these posts. Actually, there were two of them, very similar. What I caught on these posts were people starting to attack other people for doing things wrong and saying that, well, if people didn't act stupid or if they weren't being idiots, then I wouldn't get triggered. But the thing is, everyone is an actor on our stage. And what happens within ourselves is our own emotional wounds or our own beliefs that are becoming triggered because of something else. So first of all, what are triggers? Well, triggers are emotional or mental or even physical reactions to events that we may find ourselves in. Now, this can be a trigger response from something we hear on television, someone who shows up in our life, maybe a family member. Maybe even just a memory from the past may invoke feelings and memories that will create a negative response or an uncomfortable response, such as maybe sadness or grief or anger or resentment. But it also can create almost a snowball effect within ourselves, coming from our emotions, coming from our subconscious, but then creating a lot of thoughts, creating a lot of negativity, almost ruminating over these stories, the indignities of a certain situation or a person. This is very common for us to become triggered because we have our unconscious that is, I would say, really affecting the majority of our behaviors, our thoughts and our emotions, and of course our body. When we do this conscious work, we have an ability to understand our triggers more and understand also that people and situations in our lives are truly not what we need to really focus on. They do activate something within us that allows us to reflect inward and see the root cause of our feelings and our thoughts. I also truly feel that when we are having a response to a certain situation or something that we hear, or maybe a person or a relationship, our subconscious is trying to teach us something. Our unconscious self is trying to show us something. And this is the perfect time to look within. It is the perfect time to sit and reflect and try to find the root cause of where that emotion or that thought is coming from, where that feeling is coming from, where that sensation is coming from. These responses that come up within ourselves, within our lives, are a good thing. I know it's difficult when they arise. It can feel very uncomfortable, but truly when they come up within ourselves, it's the perfect time to work on ourselves. It's the perfect time to reflect inward rather than pointing our finger at someone else, reflecting inward to see what is coming up within myself that I can face. Now, this isn't dismissing other people's behaviors if they're doing something really wrong, but also I feel that when we are truly understanding ourselves in a deeper way, we can manage difficult situations a lot better. And we can also establish boundaries a lot better and be more decisive and tuned in with the situations that we may encounter, how we navigate them, how we maneuver through them, and how we react to them. So trigger responses, these maybe trauma responses or emotional wounds that come up, are crucial and very beneficial for our growth. I feel that we've also become very sensitive in our society. We have this whole cancel culture, for example. But I feel that, and I don't know when this happened exactly, but I do feel that there's a lot of sensitivity around making sure that we're not offending people or taking the responsibility of hurting someone if they're triggered by something that we might say or something that we might do. And I do it myself as well with what I say, because I also am very sensitive towards other people's feelings, towards maybe even creating a trigger or trauma response with some of the things that I enjoy talking about. And I have to be very cautious around what I say. However, I do feel that when we are being open and talking about things that could be uncomfortable, that allows for incredible insight. It allows for incredible self-analysis. It allows for incredible self-observation and growth. And then ultimately self-mastery. When we have these more difficult conversations and we can understand more about ourselves, then we will learn more about ourselves. If we become triggered by observing a situation or by encountering a certain situation, then that's good. Then take the time to look within and see what is coming up, what is being activated, what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, and how can you separate yourself from those thoughts and those feelings by understanding what they are to create some distance from maybe falling into them too deeply. The emotions are great and the thoughts are great. And this is not about, again, bypassing. I talk about this a lot, bypassing or completely removing ourselves from our negative feelings. Those are part of who we are. And the more that we connect with them and understand them, the greater understanding we will have about ourselves. And truthfully, when we become triggered in the way that we're used to, it will start to lessen. Our triggers will start to lessen. We'll start to see things through the lens of compassion and understanding. And also, again, as I mentioned, create more confidence within ourselves and discernment with situations that we might put ourselves in or people that we may associate with. And this is, of course, a learning process. I can't stress that enough. And there are always people to work with. If you are finding yourself going through difficulties, you can work with people one-on-one and getting counseling or guidance or even someone to talk to like a friend. So you can find your way out of maybe some of the more difficult energies or thoughts or feelings. So as I mentioned, triggers are not bad. These situations that we have in our life, people, life in general, ourselves, the relationship within ourselves, we can trigger ourselves just by going back in time and maybe thinking of a situation that we have encountered in our past or reliving something or a memory or maybe some deep embedded resentment or anger or frustration towards our past. We can trigger and invoke some of those emotions within ourselves by ourselves, but we also can be, again, triggered by the outside world. When the triggers happen, it does give us an opportune time to sit and reflect and understand and be compassionate with ourselves and go within and find that root cause. Why am I really feeling like this? What is my belief associated with how I'm feeling? And the beliefs I'm talking about are limiting beliefs, are false beliefs, are restricted beliefs such as I can't, maybe I can't get ahead, maybe the world's unsafe, I can't trust anyone. And this is very common and it comes in within our subconscious. It's a very deep embedded belief system that we sometimes can't fully articulate or we can't fully see, is going to come in as more of a feeling. But do your best to go in and take some time, take a pause to reflect at what your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts are trying to tell you when you are becoming triggered. And as I mentioned, this is an opportune time for change. It's an opportune time to understand yourself more. It's very important that we don't point the finger at other people. Right? And this is the huge, I feel, misconception around triggers and our society today. We are in such a sensitive time right now of not saying the right things or offending people. But if we have the ability, you can think of if we all, humanity, have the ability to understand ourselves more, we wouldn't have these perpetuating responses or sensitivities or trigger responses in such drastic ways or pointing the finger at other people. We would all be able to take the ownership of our feelings and understand ourselves more in order to mitigate some of these responses or relationships with other people or how we feel about life in general or how we feel about ourselves on a deep level. This is one of the biggest aspects I feel that we have to face as individuals, understanding our feelings, our thoughts, our emotions, how we might even be projecting them onto others. And so I should say, when we are triggered, we also can project onto others. We can attack others. We can lash out at others. We can shut ourselves down from others if there's a lack of trust. So there's going to be the internal observation point, and then also how are my behaviors being influenced as a result to how I feel inside. So I hope this sheds some light on the topic of triggers. And again, this is an inward journey, being very self-aware and observant, and remembering that people in our lives are actors on our stage. They're trying to show us something about ourselves. And this isn't about looking at our flaws and what's wrong with us. It's looking at what is becoming activated so that we can shine light on those aspects within ourselves, and that we can release from the grips and influence of our trigger responses. So I'm wishing you all the best on your journey and beyond, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care.